Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen up, turbo holders. Everything we have been saying in the last few days has been playing out. Listen, the last turbo video I made, we were talking about how we had to close above this zone over here, right? This zone over here to get continuation for the confirmations that we are going up and up. And look what happened, right? People don't believe in technical analysis, but there's a reason why this price closed this low at 0.004 instead of going lower. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the details are always going to be in the charts, no matter what you say or believe. Right, we know that there is a nice big relevant zone right over here at the 0.0046. Okay, we know that. And we also know that the markets like to ping pong. We can see, ladies and gentlemen, right, we can see that we have been actually ping ponging fairly well, over the last few weeks, right? We ping up to this relevant high, we ping down a little bit, then we ping above it, then we just continue to have decent structure, and then boom, what happens? Well, we retest off of these highs over here, right? We go to 0.0046, we come back down and we get the closes just like we were saying that we were looking for, above 0.004 area, right? And then guess what? We're pinging off this, and then now we have a small minor sell, because what do we expect to happen? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we expect Turbo to have a massive pump, okay? We expect Turbo to break through this huge zone, okay? We do, and everything suggests that we will. I am very confident that we will, because I expect also Bitcoin to be moving up, okay? I expect Bitcoin to be moving up. So, all right, if we make our charts a little bit more clean again, right, once again, we have this zone over here at 0.0046, and we're looking to be bursting to the next relative zone, which is going to be roughly 0.0055. Okay, so that is going to be a decent pump, a decent gain. We are expecting to be going up roughly 20% at least this week. At some point, we should be looking at the bare minimum to be hitting back to 0.0055. Now, I know some people want Turbo to go faster. Some people want bigger pumps, but you have to understand, people, that Turbo actually being a little bit slower and very fundamental is much healthier for the markets than us just having this huge rally, right? Us just going from the 0.0038, for example, in the middle of September, and by the exactly a month later be up at 1.3 cents. Now, I know that's the most fun because you see gains, there's a lot of hype, this and that. But you have to understand, okay? You have to understand the context that we're in right now. We are in a fundamental recovery zone, okay? Everything we're looking to be doing over the next few short weeks is to practically go from zone, bounce up to zone, okay? Practically go from zone to zone, retest all the time consistently, fundamentally, until we do finally get to the tops, which we will, right? At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, right, when we go and look at something like coin market cap and we go to something like Turbo, the tops are practically, I believe they're around 850 million. I know it says 765 million here, but it's actually closer to like 820, 850 million. So, even in terms of market cap, we never even hit a billion. So we still have so much more room to go in terms of just pure market cap value. Okay, that's the thing people don't realize, that even if we go a little bit slow here and we go build up back to here, we are looking to build up fundamentally all the way back up to roughly 850 million market cap. But that's good, because if we go higher and higher fundamentally, and we do get to roughly 850 million market cap, we see we're at 315 right now, and then we start to just burst, right? We start to burst kind of the way we did here, back in May of 2024 where we bursted, right? Or, September to October where we bursted, that's going to be fine. That's going to be fine. Because the thing is, once we start bursting this time around, we are going to be going much higher. Okay. We're going to be going much higher. For one, Bitcoin is looking to consistently be going up. Bitcoin is looking to consistently be going up, ladies and gentlemen, right? And the train's not going to stop. The train is not going to stop. We are above a massive zone for something like Bitcoin. We see it, right? We are above a huge resistance, a resistance of previous multiple cycles, of multiple tops. We have the go button now, ladies and gentlemen. We have the go button. We are free to go to even upwards of 200K this cycle, 220K this cycle. So you have to understand, right? While Bitcoin is going to be doing its thing, the healthiest thing you want for Turbo is to recover fundamentally. Yeah, of course, we don't want it to be too slow, but if by the end of the week, let's say we get to 0.006, right? And then a week from there, we get to 0.008. And then let's say like 4 to 5, 6 weeks from now, we get back to all-time highs. Are you really going to be upset? No, because that's the preparation, right? We know the biggest pumps are going to be happening when this chart starts to die off, right? Because ever since Bitcoin dominance started to die off, that's when a lot of altcoins saw a nice pump, right? When it was going down. And then when it was going sideways, it was preparing for the biggest of biggest pumps that we get pretty much once per cycle. Pretty much once per cycle, where things go insane, where you alone from this type of pump can probably make a 10, 20x, depending on the coin, depending on the context, and of course, right? But that's the thing, people. This type of stuff takes time. It takes preparation. And Turbo is simply preparing for a very, very amazing bull run. That is it. That is why you see, sometimes lower volume. That is why you see things just playing out more fundamentally. But this is actually so beautiful. If you know technical analysis and you've been here from, let's say the previous cycles, this is genuinely beautiful. Okay. All I could recommend, right, is for you, now obviously not a financial advisor, is to either just continue dollar cost averaging. And of course, the number one rule, simply just be patient. I can promise you we are much closer to the finish line than even something like the halfway point, right? Even like the halfway point, we are much, much closer to the finish line than the halfway point. Okay. That is the thing, ladies and gentlemen. You just have to realize we are not that far away. We don't need, a 2 nice weekly candles where we go back to the all-time highs, because what you guys don't realize is it's just going to crash again because it needs to get corrected. Now is going to be the phase of correction. Now is going to be where we want things to be more fundamental. Okay. Can we still see certain bursts where we go up 20 or 30% a day? Of course we can. But the reality is if we see that too much, then we're actually going to exhaust earlier, and we will most likely have to have a bigger pullback again before we finally get out of the zone. This is something you have to realize, ladies and gentlemen, right? At the end of the day, this is the bigger picture. Okay. This is going to be the bigger picture, generally speaking. This is all going to be one sideways range at one point. When we recover to all-time highs, and then we're going to be ready to explode above, you have to realize this is kind of going to count like accumulation, okay? Like we were going sideways, because that is what allows crypto to blow up massively, okay? The thing is, people, right? You understand, on a smaller picture, right? We have all this accumulation. This type of price action allows the big pump, right? And then when the big pump kind of slowed down again, we kind of got sideways movement. This type of sideways movement allowed for this pump to happen. But then think about what kind of pump are we going to get when things fundamentally get corrected, and we kind of go from this general range, right? This general range all the way to this general range over here. Boom, right? What's going to happen then? Because this is going to technically be, in the bigger picture, our sideways movement, right? This is just random, right? These arrows, but you guys will get the point, right? Once we burst up from this zone, then all of this in the middle was our accumulation to allow for us to be hitting billions and billions and tens of billions of market cap. That's the thing, people. That's why I'm excited. That's why I'm optimistic, because I've been around from the other previous cycles. I've seen technical analysis. I know technical analysis. I know how these markets work, right? At the end of the day, when this thing starts to break from its zone of 1.4 cents, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be hitting insane targets very, very quickly. Like that type of 2024 May pump you saw, right, is going to be like that, but on a much higher level and even harder and better. Even harder and better than that. Listen, people, if this is your first bull run, if this is your first altcoin season, I'm telling you, the next few months are going to be extremely exciting. And when the patience finally pays off, you will be rewarded as long as you click sell. Okay, that is just the reality. I do still think Turbo, right, has a very, very high chance of hitting, even something like 12 cents, 15 cents. I really, really do. I really do believe 12 to 15 cents is more than realistic. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. My most conservative approach is most likely going to be, if I was supposed to be really conservative, probably 20x from here. But I'm going to be very honest with you guys. A 20x does not bother me at all. Like at all. 20x, I mean, you should be able to make a lot of money. Okay. So even if hypothetically we did hit the most conservative, targets, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, a 20x from here, I don't think anyone's complaining, right? Where are you going to get a 20x other than a coin like Turbo? And of course, there's going to be exceptions of other coins too. But other than the whole crypto market, where are you going to get a 20x? You're not, right? You are not. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.